ag overtime is an issue, obviously, that we are watching very closely and are paying attention to, because it has the potential to do two major things, two negative things. There's also positives to it. I'm not going to lie and say that there's no positives to ag overtime, but mainly I think there could be damage to our communities, and I think there could be damage to small family farms. First, damage to our community meaning that these people I've talked about, these second generation, third generation employees that we have that are part of our family. My kids go to school with their kids and they play together, they come over to our house, we go to their house, those kind of things. That community could very easily be seen as being broken up. If we have to find labor from outside resources like the federal H-2A program, we'll bring those employees in, they'll do a job, and then they leave the community. That displaces the other workers that work for us. They won't have a job to do because we'll be forced to use the H-2A program. That hurts our school systems, that hurts our county taxes, that hurts our local businesses where they frequent their businesses. It also stifles the continuation of our community, where we've got former ag workers, ag employees that are doctors, and we've got them that are lawyers, and we've got them that are patient advocates here in Hood River. They're law enforcement officers. They're part of our community, and that could eventually just go away. We hope not. We hope that we can find a workable solution to that, but there's a very big potential that slamming the ag overtime down, the rules that aren't negotiated, could really have a drastic impact on the community itself. As far as the farm goes, the impacts that it could have on our bottom line are drastic. We don't get to choose the price that we charge for our fruit. Grocery stores do that. We are not a grocery store. We are what's called a price taker, which doesn't sound right, but a price taker means that we don't get to set prices. We have to take whatever price is set for us by the industry. Mm-hmm. And so growers or buyers and grocery store people out there across the country and across the world are the ones that set prices. Then you have to back it off down to where the farmer gets their price paid to them. So we don't have any control over that. So it's not like we have a product, just call it ABC product, where if it costs 10% more to make ABC product, then we charge 10 or even more, 15% more to sell ABC product, and we still make our bottom line. That's how general industry works, or even service industries work like that. In agriculture, ABC product is our fruit, is our broccoli, is our lettuce, whatever it is that we're growing, and it costs us a set amount. And everybody we buy product from, whether it's chemicals or labor or product that we're using to help grow that fruit or that product, that costs us more money. But we can't change the price of our fruit. We just have to take it. We have no idea what the price of our fruit's going to be next fall. Actually, I have no idea what the price of our fruit's going to be next week. Yeah. What we get today might not be what we get tomorrow. Mm-hmm. The price could go up. It could just drop. The bottom of the pear industry's prices could just bottom out right now. And then for the rest of the season that we're packing fruit, we would end up taking very substandard prices. We can't do anything about that. Mm-hmm. So that's probably the most dangerous part of this ag overtime. It's going to add a lot of labor costs to us, but we can't do anything about absorbing that labor cost except for cutting personnel, cutting other costs, changing business models. If we can, you can't mechanize tree fruit farming, not yet anyway. So you can't really even go down a mechanization road. So most likely where it's going to come is cutting labor. And when we cut labor, then we cut the production of fruit, which makes fruit go up more expensive in the grocery stores, and we as farmers still don't get any of that money because we don't get to set those prices. So those are probably the two drastic impacts: the community impact and the ability that we have no ability to adjust our prices for the increased costs. And that's not just for overtime, that's for all the increased regulatory costs that are piling on agriculture right now. We have no way to recapture those costs. It just comes off the bottom line, which eventually has to break, which then puts family farms out of business, and then the farms are purchased by corporate farms, and there's just a different relationship in corporate farming than there is in family farming. And so those are the two things I'm the most worried about happening to family farming in Oregon if this ag overtime goes through without the proper communication from both sides and the negotiations and the ability for us to find a workable solution for all parties that are involved, not just for one side or the other.
A couple of other hidden things that I think that increase just means not only that the farmers aren't able to set the prices, but how about the hidden effects that maybe the weather has that could further dampen the ability to bring in income for the farm, right? Weather is obviously something that we experienced this past summer, and you know that affects the price even more if you're not able to get good quality fruit out to the consumers. All of those things have ramifications, and if you add one more thing to the mix of, you know, potentially, as it is, Orchardists could do everything right, and then one bad weather anomaly, and they'll throw it all away.
The whole crop goes away.
Yeah.
And that's something I don't think a lot of consumers understand, is the prices that they see in the grocery store are 100% not the prices that the farmer put in to get that crop to the grocery store. There's probably about 3 or 4 steps between the farmer and the grocery store, the end consumer. And all those people take the chunk of money that they need to get to make their business profitable, because they can take more of it because they're not price takers, they're price setters. The only person in this whole algorithm between the grocery store consumer and the farmer, the only person that gets to take the price is the farmer. Consumers have a choice whether or not they buy the fruit or don't, or what grocery store they're going to shop at. We as a grower, we have to sell our fruit. And so we sell our fruit and we get paid whatever price the buyer decides to pay us, which is a really difficult thing to plan for. You really can't budget in an agricultural business because there's no indicator saying that, oh, we can increase our prices next year by 3%. So no agricultural business, when they're setting up their budget for the following year, increases their income. They only increase expenses. And then we have to try to make things happen. And if it happens to be a great crop, or what people say a bumper crop, great. It worked out, because the following year it very well may be a disastrous crop. And we can't affect that. So what happens in the general commerce of this agricultural industry is you'll see these bad summers where our cherry crop in the gorge was just decimated by the superheat. Our pears became soft, didn't have as high quality as we wanted them to have. They're pretty good quality this year, but not as high as they should have been. But that dampens our ability to sell high volume of fruit. So what happens in the grocery store? The prices go up. Our prices went down because our fruit's not as good. So the grocery store says, oh, there was a bad weather event, or there's the pandemic. These things are causing all these things to be more expensive. The supply chain is more expensive. All these things are more expensive. The farmer didn't get any more money this year. We probably got less money this year.
Which is crazy.
But yeah, because we don't get to set prices. We don't get to do anything about that. We don't get to dictate that. We just take whatever it is that the people that are buying the fruit give us. And if you're buying your fruit, say at $2 a pound, the grower is probably making 20 cents a pound. That's the vast difference that you're looking at. That's what it is right now for pears. We get about 20 cents a pound. The grocery store gets $2 a pound.
Another ramification that came up when you were talking about the overtime, bringing in H2A workers internationally. The money that is earned, Devon is absolutely right. The schools don't see it because the money goes back home to wherever they're from. The businesses don't see it because the workers feel like they've worked hard to earn their money, and so they want to keep as much of it, and so they send it home. The local groceries, stores even, they get the bare minimum, and then the rest of it goes home. They don't go out to celebrate at the movie theaters because they want to save all their money, right? So it's just an added if you add overtime onto it, it's not like they're gonna be spending the money here. It's gonna be going elsewhere. So if they minimize the overtime, that's actually gonna be a detriment to how much money they pull in as a worker. They're not gonna earn as much, because the owners are gonna be forced to cut hours so that they don't hit overtime. Unfortunately, we're in an industry where the fruit kind of sets when they're ready to be picked, right? And can you imagine having to make a decision whether you pick a piece of fruit versus, holy cow, how much overtime am I going to be accruing, and is that detrimental to what the business needs? You shouldn't be making those kinds of decisions. I mean,
I think one of the misconceptions that is out there that I've heard after getting involved in this ag overtime issue is that people that aren't associated with farms or in the agricultural industry at all believe that we as farmers are taking advantage of our employees, and that's absolutely not true. We don't want to work them more than we need to have them work. And so our typical routine here is we work a 40-hour week Monday through Friday, and then depending on what season we're in, we'll work a half a day on Saturday. That's all we want to do. So we're looking at like 45 hours or so. We try not to work them more than that because we want them to have their time off, their vacation, their time on the weekends, relax with their family, because then they come back to work on Monday.
Physically, right?
Yeah, they come back to work on Monday with more energy, ready to work. That's why we have weekends, to relax and recover and come back to work on Monday. If we were taking advantage of our employees, we'd just be like 7 days a week. You're working 10 hours a day. You're going. And we don't do that. Nobody does that. And if they do that, shame on them. They shouldn't be doing that. And I don't know if anybody does that. Because one, it's expensive and you don't have that much of a critical time period.
Sure.
Now, for a certain period of time on different agricultural industries in the state of Oregon, there is a window of time where you have to harvest. Whether you're harvesting blueberries or you're harvesting cherries or pears or asparagus, it doesn't matter. There is a window of time. And that's where you don't get to dictate when we pick. We gotta go. And so we start picking and we gotta get through it because the fruit's just gonna get too ripe at the end of the period and then you're done. Then you can't pick it anymore. Then we lose money. Then we lose employees. Yeah. It's a bad negative spiral. But there's in no situation are we taking advantage of our employees. They obviously get paid for every hour they work here. They have to. Obviously, it's a law. We do that. We all are law abiders, paying our employees. But we want our employees to have time off also, and so we can't overwork them or their productivity drops drastically. It's very hard labor, like we said earlier. It's very manual, very very hand-intensive labor for what we're doing in the orchard, and so they have to have that time off.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Devon, but a lot of the farmers pay by the piece, which turns into an opportunity for the workers, where they're making, and I'm not lying when I say it, they're making 20, 30, 40 bucks an hour, depends on the variety of fruit, but in no way, shape or form is it something that is offered to an employee at bare minimum wage and crazy hours. That's just not a reality out here, and I think that's a huge misconception.
It is, and we do have minimum wage employees, obviously, and the first year employees that come to work for us are minimum wagers, and but we do have piece rate work, piece rate for picking, piece rate for packing downstairs right now, piece rate for pruning the trees, piece rate for thinning. And so those employees that are good and consistent and can perform those jobs well are making really good money. I mean, it's not a consistent year-round revenue of that source, obviously, because it's for short bursts of time. But besides a few of the outliers that we've had working for us in the past, most of our employees understand that concept, and they know that I'm going to work regular wages until cherries start in June. I'm going to get paid by that piece through June, and then at the end of July I'll be back to being regular hours. But when pears start in the middle of August, I'm back to making piece rate all the way through the end of October through picking our apples. Then they're back on hourly wage if they get some work there in November, back to piece rate in December for pruning. So we're doing that, one, for efficiency for us, but two, the employees get paid more dollars per hour when they're working on piece rate. And that's the whole concept. Then when they're done with their job, it gets done faster, then they can still live in our housing units, and we allow them to go work for someone else's orchards. So we're providing housing when they're not even working for us anymore. Mm-hmm. They're going to work for someone else because we know the value of them coming back to work for us in a couple months mm-hmm. to go through that next section of time for us. I think my closing thoughts about the ag overtime issue are that we meaning orchardists and farmers in general, want to be involved in the conversation about how to make it equitable for all parties involved. We don't want to see overtime just slammed down at 40 hours a week without any consideration about what the impact is that going to be on the community, on farms, and on the employees. So I think there has to be an opportunity for us to talk and figure out what the best solution is. Whether that is a certain hour amount, over a certain hour amount you pay overtime, whether that's a certain period of the year that you don't pay overtime, whatever solutions we come up with, I think it's super important, vitally important, that all parties are involved in that conversation unobstructed. Yeah. And what I mean by that is not having special interest groups drive their comments. And so talk to farmers, talk to ag employees, from all different genders and races and backgrounds to find out what's really going on in all of Oregon agriculture, not just in the Willamette Valley, but also out in Malheur County, out in Wallowa County, here in Hood River County, out on Tillamook in the dairy industry, all those places. Make sure that you're getting I just hope that we have a good, clear picture of negotiations that can happen that are public and are honest and are looking for the best solution.
I'm, second generation now growing up here in the Valley, first generation Hispanic parents, and they would tell you that there is no weird, abuse happening on the orchard side. And I think that the overtime, whenever people hear overtime, and the special interest groups throw out the overtime, they immediately attach that to bad behavior by the employers. And overtime is just a method of paying people. But let's compare, right? What's overtime versus what is happening right now and what's best for the employee. Is it really overtime? Is overtime really the issue? Well, let's talk about it. Right? But you can't come in with a closed mind to say that, if you're not offering overtime, then you're not a good employer. That doesn't make sense to me.
I really would love to encourage legislators and those that have questions to reach out to farm owners and ag workers in their district unabashedly. Like call them and say, hey, can I have a conversation with you about that? Because that's where you're going to get the true feeling of what's going on around the state of Oregon. Not through any special interest groups that are trying to promote a certain message one way or the other. Honestly, I mean, talk to the farmers, talk to the ag workers, and see where their opinions lie. Mm-hmm.